It's back. Still tastes just as good too. It's almost like reliving my childhood all over again. This is actually a nickname of mine in grade school. I guess I was the only person in the class that liked the stuff. Here's something else that may only be liked by a couple of people, but should be liked by a lot more. It's the band Graveyard. Innocence Decadence. This is the band's 4th album already, and this is the first time that we've talked about it here on the coverkillernation channel, and I feel that I should provide a little bit of background. These guys are more of a hard rock, psychedelic rock band that sometimes, every so often, touches a bit of heavy metal territory, but certainly gets a lot of real traction within this subgenre, and that tends to find a lot of fans within the heavy metal range because of their comparisons to some prog projects, as well as a couple of the names that we're about to mention whenever we describe some of the material that is presented on Innocence Decadence. But this is an 11-track album that spans a little bit more than 40 minutes in length, and we have song lengths that go anywhere between 2.5 minutes to one track, actually, that follows that 2-minute track that's close to 6. And this is a combination of just good old blues-centered rock and roll that is, it's one that reminds a lot of people, and probably as it should, of groups such as Led Zeppelin in some forms and in some functions. It's just a good old-fashioned tribute to rock and roll and hard rock music. But this is not just a Led Zeppelin fest all the way through. In fact, this is something where it's only in choice locations, and I think that most people immediately turn toward that band name, considering it's one of the most well-known. In spaces and places on this album, you can hear actually the gruff, grimy tone of Motorhead's Lemmy-style sometimes within this vocalist's range, but the band that really comes to mind primarily, the band that really seems to resonate itself and project itself to me whenever listening to this group, is Clutch. And it's more so within the diversity as well as the material that just sort of post borders on potentially psychedelic stoner rock, but in reality kind of stays within that nice little groove between just being pure psychedelic rock and moving into the stoner territory. The repetition is not necessarily present on this album. It's instead something that's very high on a crunchy groove and very, very elaborate with its overall charm. It's just a very nice album in the fact that it does really combine a lot of different sounds in order to project a true diverse bag of tricks that Graveyard actually does possess. And this is also a collective effort as far as that's concerned. There's no real portion of this album as far as the instrumentals are concerned that feels weak. It feels that all of those are represented equally and are given their moments to shine. There's a few and far between guitar solos. However, the crunches of the grooves that we were mentioning prior are so infectious that it really doesn't need that to be present all of that much in order to craft a very strong album. And it's an album whose flow really works to its benefit, considering it is a diverse group of songs that vary in tempo. The flow is actually one of the nicest bows that's been placed on top of this album by the band and by their production crew, considering it does not feel disjointed in any way. It doesn't feel like you're being jarred from one track to the next. Instead, you feel like you're flowing right along through with absolute ease. Can't Walk Out is the near 6-minute long track on this album, coming in at track number 5, and it's just an exquisite masterpiece. This is a great song that really paces itself very nicely and really allows the body of work to expand itself and does not try to sort of cut things off a little early just for the sake of trying to keep within a reasonable length. This is a song that definitely needs that open expansion, considering it has that more bluesy feel to it and really captivates you a little bit more, sort of drags you in. I think about songs such as Since I've Been Loving You by Led Zeppelin whenever I think of Can't Walk Out, considering it sort of has that same exterior to it. Either that, or I just think of the blues period, maybe something that Gary Clark Jr. may want to cover in the future. It's definitely a song that I feel that with his charm could potentially pull it off, or perhaps even a Joe Bonamassa, if you can imagine him doing a Graveyard number with a sincere and stunning guitar solo at the end of it. It's definitely something Joltin' Joe could probably pull off. What I have to also say about the second half of this disc goes right at the end with Stay for a Song. Now, if you are a longtime subscriber, you know of my obsession with first tracks and last tracks because they really leave you with a great impression at the end or start you off with a great impression whenever you first pick up the album and put it on. Stay for a Song actually does things a little bit differently and opts to go for a little bit of minimalism. There's not much in the way of instrumentals here. It's mainly driven by the vocals, and quite frankly, this is a very passionate, not to mention extremely well tailored song. This is one that really takes that whole barroom atmosphere, or that lounge atmosphere, kind of to a new level. Very basic minimalism, probably just some keys which have the sound of perhaps tuning forks, either that or just a real old school classy Rat Packy style, and it works beautifully. It's something that is accented by a faint bass line right near the end of this song that almost signals the final moments of not only this record, but perhaps the final moments of the song that this gentleman is speaking about. How he is inviting somebody to stay for a song because he can sing. Wow. Innocence and Decadence by Graveyard, it's not really surprising that these guys are able to produce really killer material. It really shouldn't be, because their other records are also very well done. This is a great rock album. I really enjoy this a lot. It has a tremendous vibe to it and reminds you of just enough of a diverse group of musicians that it really captivates you a bit. Another band that comes to mind right before we get to the score is The Sword, who of course just came out with a great new album about a month ago, and this is a group that definitely would couple very nicely with The Sword if you like them. And then of course we're going to be talking about Clutch a little bit later on this week with their new album coming out, so this is a great companion album as well. So fans of Clutch, fans of The Sword, even fans of Led Zeppelin, fans of classic rock, there's so many people, so many of you that would like Graveyard if you just gave them a chance. 86 out of 100 for this album. Very strong material. It is not one that lags. It's not one that bores. It really keeps you pulled in, and that's its strength. Its weakness may just be that a couple of the tracks are a little less than memorable. They're just kind of okay, as opposed to some of the others that are absolutely stellar. But that's usually true of most records. Very few are able to accomplish the full suite being absolute stellar classics. Now, I want to know what you guys think about Innocence and Decadence by Graveyard. Let me know in the comments below, and here's your homework assignment. Tell at least 5 to 10 of your friends about this band. If this is a band that you know, you may have already done this, but try to find 5 or 10 more. If you are new to this group, take a listen, and if you like what you hear, tell 5 to 10 of your friends about this group, whether that be through sharing this review, either that or by sharing some of their music. I'm coverkillernation, and I hope that I just introduced some of you to whether it be your new favorite band or a new band for you to really check out with this release today. I'll talk to you later.